Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I ask that you continue to pray for a miracle, but there's another miracle that all of you guys can pray for, and this one is a lot more realistic than the ones that I asked you guys to pray for in the last video. I want you guys to pray that I can make better decisions more quickly. I can often make good decisions retrospectively, but not on the spot as they're happening to me. And what do I mean by that? Well, as you guys know, I recently got another girlfriend, but I look back and there were many girls that I could have asked out and probably gotten very far with a lot of them. But I only digested the opportunity months or even years later. There were certain things at work that could have played out differently that I only digested years later. So I talk about my first job here in the Phoenix area is working at a tutoring center, and I got into huge disagreement with my boss there. And in retrospect, it could have played out very differently. There were plenty of times I should have put my foot down when I didn't. You know, the bigger problem is that at the time I didn't have a whole lot of financial security. When I first got to the Phoenix area, I literally had a 3-digit number in my bank account. I had, what, 100 pounds of bismuth to my name, I think. I mean, yeah, I did have some precious metals. I did have some money in my Roth IRA. Not as much as I do now, obviously. But we had just come out of the pandemic, and I was still kind of in the process of rebuilding my career, right? I was teaching at Washington Technology University. They folded, and I was still rebounding from that. And it left me with very little breathing room. And I think it's one thing that it left me with very little breathing room, but it's another that my boss took advantage of that. And I think that's what bothered me more than anything else. But there were so many times I could have put my foot down. Like, for example, I get a schedule that I don't like. I get schedules I don't like all the time here at the community colleges, and I speak up about it, right? The other thing that I didn't have to my name is that I've noticed there's a huge benefit to my current situation of being back to dating again. I find I'm less likely to get suckered at work, right? A colleague wants me to fill in at an odd hour. In the past, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, hey, maybe this is a good networking opportunity. Nowadays, I'm thinking, do I want to do this? And if I do, maybe I'll get something out of it, right? Maybe not, but I'll feel good about it, right? It has completely changed the chemistry of whether or not I want to take on additional overtime at work, right? It's changed the chemistry of that considerably, right? Now it's, do I want to feel good? In the past, it's, do I want to gamble and hope that I make the right connections? And I think my colleagues knew that and took advantage of it. So it's, yes, I left myself vulnerable, but I think a lot of my colleagues, a lot of the people around me abused it. They were dealt an ace and they played it all the way through. So, for example, I had a colleague who had family matters and asked me to donate a bunch of my vacation time to her. And in the back of my mind, at the time, I was lonely. You know, had it happened today, do I really want to do that? I could spend that time with my girlfriend, or, you know, maybe I could feel good and I'll donate like half a day, maybe, right? Not the entire 6, 7, 8 days that I had saved up over the course of a pandemic where I was already stressed out, right? It just changes the entire chemistry of that transaction. I wouldn't even call it a transaction anymore. But I have a hard time making good decisions on the fly. Let me give you an example. I was at a board game meetup, and I was playing Ticket to Ride with a group of 3, 4 other people, and this guy decided he needed to have his pizza in the middle of a game, get grease all over the game, and I had to walk away from that game. I have milk allergies. It's his board game, so he can have it his way, but I gotta walk away from that game. He was visibly upset, and even the hosts of that party was really upset at me for doing that. And I walked over to another table where this girl introduced herself, and I'm thinking, how am I going to make my move on this girl? And I started by thanking her for understanding. I've learned instead of apologizing for that, just thank them for understanding. Even the pizza guy, thank you for understanding, but I really have to go. I wish I could play this through. My body can't, right? Thank you so much for understanding. So I get to this table. We start having a discussion, and she says, you know what, I deal with it too. And she showed me a device she had connected to her arm. And I won't say what condition it is. She has a chronic health condition. And I was put off by that. Gotta understand, I was juggling 3 jobs. I was just getting out of a toxic job. I didn't, you know, I'll see her at the club, but, I don't want to date somebody who has chronic issues. And that was really, I was being a hypocrite there at the time. But you know what? When things come on the spot, I suck at that. Had somebody email me, would you like to date this girl, but she has so-and-so issue, and I had a whole night to digest that, it might not have bothered me so much. And I need to I missed out on a lot of opportunities because I let little baggages like that get in the way. There was another girl. Um, well, she's a lot younger than me anyway, but I feel like I messed up our first encounter together. She had just graduated from Phoenix College. I call her Taylor Jr. Actually, the reason I call her Taylor Jr. is kind of interesting. Well, she looks like she could be a cousin of Taylor Swift. But when we first met, she was taking a lot of text messages from a female friend of hers who had a very bad breakup. And so it kind of reminded me of when Taylor Swift was 15 years old and how she and Abigail had their first encounters with guys. It kind of reminded me of that too. But when I first met her, I was kind of turned off by the Abigail in her life, and I had a lot going on. I didn't need that. Abigail has since passed from her stories. She talks about other things, um, and I royally screwed up. For a time, Taylor Jr. didn't even want to talk to me until we met again, and I became the bigger person. I did everything I should at our last meeting. There was a event for that was open to alumni as well. And after the event, she messaged me a few times on Discord. But you get the idea, right? At the moment, Taylor Jr. is talking to her Abigail Jr. and being stressed out about that. And and at the moment, the other girl at the meetup who had chronic health concerns really bother me when they really shouldn't have. At the moment that I'm negotiating with my job, something comes up. I really like it, my situation now. I have some money in the bank and I got a girlfriend. And so I become less emotional with those things, right? Something happens at work. I don't need the money. Am I going to feel good about doing this, right? Say what I need to say to the boss. If I lose my job over something that I have no control over because of differences in ways, I'm glad I lost it now rather than waste my time. I couldn't afford to say that 2 years ago, right? Or a situation at work comes up. I like to network with people. It's okay. I got a girlfriend. Am I going to feel good networking this way? Right? It turns it takes the emotion out of those decisions, right? And that's why I need to accumulate another 3 tons of bismuth, another 1,000-ounce silver bar when I get a chance to get to it. I want to pour one of these out of solid silver, actually. And That's why I need to max out my Roth IRA. That's why I need to continue networking more with people. Aside from, I hope to network with the connections that my girlfriend has. She works in a completely different line of work, right? And that way, I won't be so bothered the next time. Uh, I run into this, right? continue to pray for me by leaving a dislike on this video. Pray that I find the right words and react properly rather than only retrospectively, right? See, a lot of these things, if I could teleport 2 years back into that tutoring center, hey, thanks for scheduling me all these hours, but this just isn't going to work. I got family commitments. I'm sorry. Right, I have a girlfriend now. I'm sorry. Or the girl who had the device connected to her. Hey, that's cool that you have all this technology available, right? Do you want to go see a movie next Saturday, right? I'll make sure you're okay with, right? Right? Or the Taylor Jr., right? That's cool that you could be there for your friend, right? But I got emotional with all of that, and I like having all these options, especially the 3 tons of bismuth. I'm never gonna get emotional at work again, right? I do whatever gets the job done, right? Take the hot seat out of the equation, right? It's kind of like I used to love to watch this game show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and oftentimes the people who would win big were the people who had decent families and careers, right? You would never see a lot of these college students had a lot of trivia in their head, but they would never win a lot, right? They would walk away with $8,000 or with $64,000 because they couldn't afford to jeopardize any of that money, right? And then you would see somebody who's been married for 30 years, owns a home, and they would take a guess at the $250,000, $500,000 question. They might win it. They might not win it, but you know what? They had a fun time anyway. And usually, the people who lose big on the show, they aren't bitter about it either, right? And the people who would win a million often had good careers backing them up. Why? Because they could actually afford to take the risk, right? Nowadays, when I go to work, I find myself routinely guessing on the $500,000 question, and most of the time getting it right. I couldn't afford to do that 2 years ago, and that really hurt, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.